Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London. Today I'm looking at a book which has come to us from Global Law and Business. It's one of a series of books that we've reviewed, written by a judge from the Irish jurisdiction, Max Barrett. It's this book here. It's called Great Legal Writing. You can see the green cover there. It's a hardback. It's got a subtitle, Lessons from Literature. I think it's an excellent book. It's actually part of a series of books that he's written, and that's the other one. It's called The Art and Craft of Judgment Writing. These are relatively small books, but they're very helpful. This one, for instance, is under 300 pages. You can see from the contents section what you've got, straightforward statements of various writers all the way through. You can see Forsley and Foster, Thomas Hardy, a whole range, Trollope and so forth. And in fact, it gives a very good and interesting approach to the way in which we actually write. It says great legal writing, but the way we write legally, there's a very useful foreword, and then after that you get into the individual writers, the first one being D.H. Lawrence. There's a quote on the back of the book from Brian Gardner, who's chief editor of Black's Law Directory, or rather Law's Dictionary. In this highly original book, Justice Barrett has drawn together an astonishing amount of material. This is an important contribution to the field of law and literature. That just about sums it up. And you can see the various way in which it's done. There's some some prominent blocks where there are key points and key statements made. You can see there's one, for instance, here. That's Stevenson, and then there's another one again with Trollope, Anthony Trollope. And then at the end there's an afterword towards a code of good legal writing, and I think that's something that we all would like to aspire to if we don't actually get there. Now, what do we say about the book? Elizabeth was the lead writer on this book, and her quote is, "As words are the basic tools of advocacy, all lawyers should read this book." Well, that's very good advice, Elizabeth, and I obviously fully agree. Now, we discussed the book at some length, and we found it a very interesting book, certainly from the point of view of what is being put forward. Because this is what we say: does law link with literature? Yes, of course it does. Both are about words and their intrinsic power to influence when effectively used. And bearing in mind that while good writing does influence, great writing, for good or ill, exerts power, and that's absolutely true. So as the author of the book, Max Barrett, who's also a judge, as I've said, states very simply that the law consists of words, hence the necessity of cultivating a clear, lucid and polished writing style, especially when you consider the vast amount of paperwork and documentation most cases require. And I can remember as a student being told that the law was about words, and I haven't changed my general understanding that that is really what this is all about, because it's about what words are said that make, and of course committed to paper, that makes the decisions that we actually have to arrive at the end concerning disputes that can crop up. So if you're a lawyer who writes well, get this book. It's a recent publication, as I said, from Global Law and Business, and we think it will inspire you to write even better, superbly well in fact. Or if you're already a superb writer, you lucky you, you will be pleased to be reminded that good writing emanates from honesty and clarity of thought. As you can immediately detect from the title, the focus of the book is less on good legal writing as on great legal writing. And note the subtitle, Lessons from Literature. As the publishers point out, the book provides lessons, mainly statements of opinion, on the art of brilliant expression from a noteworthy selection of undeniably brilliant writers of the past, whose work continues to inspire. And even if you may disagree in part with what some of them say, you can't fault the way they say it, or indeed the quality of the advice they offer. Let's take some examples. E.M. Foster offers advice on writing and voice, focusing on tone, vocabulary, rhythm and cadence, and much, much more. Other writers featured in this work include D.H. Lawrence, oh yes, him, Dirty Bertie, Guy de Maupassant, Thomas de Quincey, Thomas Hardy, Henry James, Robert Louis Stevenson, Anthony Trollope, William Hazlitt, Virginia Woolf, and more besides. And if at this point you are asking why only one female author, your query will no doubt inspire another book. I don't think that Barrett was deliberately leaving it just to Virginia. I'm sure that there are plenty of other very good writers, but that's what he selected. Certainly this book may well answer or inspire further debate on the concern expressed by judges, for example, on the evidently deteriorating quality of written submissions by all too many lawyers of late, counsel as well as solicitors, and judges too, as we are reminded that the triple crown of judgment writing is clarity, simplicity and brevity. Note too the appendix on writing for the young and vulnerable. I think that's important because clearly I come across a number of criticisms of the quality of the written word, and of course in the work I do in the county courts mainly, where evidence is actually in the witness statements, you've got to have that clarity, that simplicity and that brevity. You don't get it, that's the problem. But there we go, that's what we're there for. In all then, the book presents readers, primarily lawyers, with a distinguished work of scholarship on a subject that is all too rarely discussed. The encouraging prospect is that this book will, in general, raise levels of awareness, particularly in the legal profession, that words, the basic tools of advocacy, should be used wisely and well. And the date of publication is cited as at 2023. Let's just have one last look at the book. There's the front. Standard house style for Globe. The back of the book, there's not a lot there. There's a bit of blurb which I've borrowed partly with, and Elizabeth has. Let's go to the middle of the book. Here we go. Thomas Hardy. You've got Hardy, the type at the top. You've got some footnotes. You've got, as you can see, key propositions mentioned for each of the writers, which I think is very helpful. You've got a short biography of each writer at the front, which is very good. And then they launch into the specific points that Max wishes to make. In the case of Hardy, originality, Hardy's observations summarised, and so on. And it runs through. So I think anybody who's been a student of either law or literature will find this book excellent. It's one that we really liked reading, and it was a pleasure to review it. So thank you to all at Globe for producing this excellent work. Bye-bye.